I never imagined the man I built my life with would stand in front of me, smooth-faced and cold, and say he no longer loved me. Daniel didn't stutter, didn't tremble. He simply announced that he had grown apart and found someone who understands him better. The truth hit me a minute later. He was leaving me for a younger woman, someone barely older than the interns in his office. My heart shattered, but he didn't care. His eyes sparkled with excitement for his new life. As he packed his bags, guilt never crossed his face. He didn't look back once. I stood there, quietly broken, my hands trembling as I tried to breathe through the betrayal. He had forgotten every sacrifice, every dream we built, every night I stayed awake supporting him. But while I stood there hurting, something deep inside me whispered, "This is not your end." Met her 2 days later. A pretty young woman with long lashes, glossy lips, and the kind of bright confidence youth gives. She clung to Daniel's arm like a trophy he had won. They looked at me with pity, as if I were the old chapter they couldn't wait to close. She smiled at me, but not kindly. It was the kind that says, "I've replaced you, accept it." That day I realized Daniel didn't just choose her because she was younger. He chose her because she fed his ego. She made him feel powerful, desirable, important. And I reminded him of responsibility, growth, and the pressure of the reality he didn't want. His betrayal became clearer, and so did my path forward. After Daniel left, silence settled in my home like a fog. The rooms felt larger, emptier, but also strangely lighter. I let myself cry, but I also began to breathe again. It took days of sleeping on the couch, ignoring calls, and staring at divorce papers before it hit me. I had nothing left to lose. One morning, I stood in front of the mirror and saw a woman stripped down to her core but not destroyed. Something hardened in me. Something awakened. I realized Daniel didn't break me. He freed the version of me I had abandoned trying to build him. I started small, fixing my hair, organizing my life, donating the clothes that reminded me of wife duties. I took long walks, rediscovered old hobbies, and opened the business plan I once shelved for Daniel's dreams. The more I focused on myself, the more I realized how much of me had dimmed to make him shine. For the first time in years, I lit my own candle, and the flame burned brighter than I expected. 2 months later, I received a message from a prominent businesswoman I had met years ago. She had seen my old proposal and wanted to partner with me. Shock rolled through me. My skills, the same ones Daniel had dismissed, were being recognized. We met for coffee, and for the first time, someone saw me not as Daniel's wife, but as a powerhouse in my own right. She gave me a challenge. Start over, but this time do it for you. I accepted. As I rebuilt my life, everything changed. The way I dressed, spoke, worked, and carried myself. Confidence slowly stitched itself back into my bones. My business grew, connections expanded, and whispers of my rising career started spreading in our social circle. People who once overlooked me began paying attention. I wasn't just surviving. I was rising, and the world noticed. But the sweetest part, Daniel still had no idea. Meanwhile, Daniel and his young lover weren't living the fairy tale they imagined. Rumors floated back to me. Arguments, jealousy, immaturity. She didn't cook, didn't understand his drive, and didn't support his ambitions unless it benefited her image. Daniel began showing up to events alone. He looked tired, drained, and older than I remembered. His upgrade was suddenly too expensive to maintain. Our paths crossed at a major corporate event. I walked in wearing a dress that hugged my new confidence and skin glowing like I had never known heartbreak. When Daniel saw me, he froze. His jaw literally dropped. He approached slowly, confused, almost insecure. "You look different," he said, eyes scanning me. I smiled politely, not bitterly, not kindly, just a smile of a woman who no longer needed his validation. And that shook him more than anything. Weeks after the event, Daniel texted me. Then he called. Then he accidentally showed up at places I frequented. He asked about my life, my business, my happiness. But beneath his questions, regret bled through every word. He saw what I had become. Everything he chased in that younger woman, but stronger, wiser, and truly valuable. But I had no interest in entertaining his guilt. That version of me was gone. His new girlfriend felt threatened instantly. She complained constantly, asking if he still loved me. She compared herself to me. She stalked my social media, copying my style, my confidence, my success. The irony? She took my husband, yet wanted my life. But I refused to let myself be dragged into their chaos. I simply kept glowing, and it drove her mad. My business finally hit mainstream success. I launched a major partnership, and within days, articles were calling me one of the fastest rising entrepreneurs of the year. My story, the comeback from heartbreak, became inspirational fuel for thousands. Doors opened everywhere. Events, interviews, investors. I was no longer in Daniel's shadow. I was the spotlight. Daniel asked to meet. He sat across from me, eyes soft, voice trembling. I made a mistake, he confessed. I didn't know what I had. Those words, once my greatest desire, now felt empty. I looked at the man I once loved and saw someone small, not evil, not cruel, just small. He expected me to break down and take him back, but instead, I smiled gently and said, "Thank you for leaving me." His face crumbled. When she learned he wanted me back, she melted down. She confronted me publicly, shouting accusations of stealing her man. But I stood calm, elegant, collected. I didn't fight, because I didn't need to. Daniel pulled her aside, embarrassed. Their relationship broke the same way it began, with insecurity, jealousy, and ego. She didn't defeat me. She defeated herself. One morning, I woke up and realized that I no longer felt pain. No bitterness. No resentment. Daniel was a distant memory, like a chapter from a book I once read. What remained was gratitude. He pushed me into the life I truly deserved. I wasn't just healed. I was transformed. And I had built everything with my own hands. My story became the talk of the city. The woman he replaced became the woman everyone admired. The woman he abandoned became the woman every room looked up to. The woman he thought was not enough became more than he ever dreamed. I didn't get revenge. I didn't need to. My success was loud enough. My peace was deep enough. My glow was bright enough. And that, truly, was the comeback that shocked everyone, including me.